Commander Jake Morrison stood at the observation deck of Research Station Blackwood, watching the strange planet below through the thick glass. Volf 7 looked dead from space, just another rock floating in the void, but something about it made his skin crawl. The planet had no atmosphere worth mentioning, no signs of life, and no reason for the energy readings his team kept detecting from its core. Dr. Lisa Hayes walked up beside him, holding her tablet with the latest scan results. She was the best xenobiologist in the fleet, but even she looked puzzled by what they were seeing. The energy patterns coming from Volf 7 were unlike anything in their databases, pulsing in complex rhythms that almost seemed like a heartbeat. "Still getting those weird readings, Commander?" Lisa said, showing him the screen. "Whatever is down there is big, and it is active. The patterns are getting stronger every hour we stay in orbit." Jake frowned at the data. 3 weeks ago, their deep space mission had been routine. Map new systems, catalog planets, look for resources. Volf 7 was supposed to be a quick stop, just another dead world to mark on their charts. But the moment they entered the system, their sensors started picking up something that should not exist on a lifeless planet. Captain Alex Turner, their security chief, joined them at the window. He was a big man with scars from the frontier wars, and Jake had never seen him look nervous before today. Alex kept checking his sidearm and glancing at the tactical displays as if he expected trouble. "My team is ready if we need to go down." "There," Alex said, but his voice carried doubt. "Though I still think we should call for backup before we do anything stupid." Dr. Ben Clark, their astrophysicist, came running into the observation deck with excitement written all over his face. He was young and eager, the kind of scientist who got thrilled by mysteries instead of worried by them. His tablet showed readings that made Jake's head spin with numbers and graphs. "Commander, you need to see this," Ben said, breathing hard. "The energy source just changed. It is not random anymore. The patterns are organized, complex. This looks like artificial intelligence activity." Jake felt his stomach drop. Artificial intelligence was rare in the galaxy, and most of it was human-made. Finding an eye on a planet this far from human space meant one of two things. Either humans had been here before and left no records, or something else had built it. Lisa studied Ben's readings, and her face went pale. "These patterns are too complex for natural phenomena. Whatever is down there is not just alive, it is thinking, and it knows we are here." As if responding to her words, every alarm on the station started blaring at once. The communication array lit up with incoming signals, and Jake could hear his crew shouting reports from all over the station. The energy readings from Volf 7 had suddenly spiked to levels that made their instruments scream warnings. "All stations, this is Morrison," Jake spoke into his unit. "Report status immediately." Lieutenant Sam Parker's voice crackled through the speakers from the communications center. "Commander, we are receiving a transmission from the planet's surface. It is not using any human protocols, but our computers are translating it automatically." The message is repeating. Jake's blood went cold. "Put it through to the observation deck." The speakers filled with a voice that sounded ancient and tired, speaking in perfect English with an accent Jake could not place. The words were clear, but their meaning made no sense at all. "Wardens have returned. Wild Volf acknowledges your authority. Awaiting instructions from rightful guardians." "Thank you, Warden," came the response, acknowledging humanity's control over Wild Volf. The message repeated 3 times, then stopped. The observation deck fell silent except for the hum of life support systems. Jake looked at his team and saw his own confusion reflected in their faces. "Did it just call us wardens?" Alex asked, his hand moving to his weapon out of habit. Lisa was frantically checking her databases. "There is no record of humans ever being called wardens by any known species." "And what does it mean by acknowledging our control? We have never been to this system before." Ben was practically bouncing with excitement despite the tension. "This is incredible. An artificial intelligence that recognizes humans as some kind of authority figures. It must have been programmed by someone who knew about us." Jake tried to think through the implications. Either this was an elaborate trap, or they had stumbled onto something much bigger than a simple research mission. The AI called itself Wild Wolf and seemed to be waiting for orders from humans it called Wardens. "Sam, can you establish two-way communication with the source?" Jake asked through his cum. "Already working on it, Commander. The AI is using our own communication protocols. Somehow, it is like it knows exactly how to talk to us." Jake made a decision that would change everything. Open a channel. "Let me talk to this Wild Wolf." The speakers crackled to life, and Jake could feel the weight of something vast and ancient listening to him. "This is Commander Jake Morrison of the human research vessel Blackwood. We received your message. Can you explain what you mean by wardens?" The response came immediately, and Jake could hear something like relief in the artificial voice. "Commander Morrison, Wild Wolf has waited long cycles for warden return. You carry the genetic markers and technological signatures of the rightful guardians. This unit was created to serve and protect until wardens reclaim their inheritance." Jake exchanged glances with his team. Lisa was recording everything, Alex was checking tactical readouts, and Ben looked like he might explode from curiosity. "We do not understand," Jake said carefully. "Humans have never been to this system before. We do not know anything about being wardens or having any inheritance here." "Negative, Commander Morrison? Wardens seeded many worlds before the Great Departure. Genetic analysis confirms human designation as inheritor species. Wild Wolf requests permission to share historical data and provide access to Guardian protocols." The silence stretched for long seconds as Jake tried to process what he was hearing. Somehow, humans were connected to this ancient AI and whatever civilization had created it. They were being offered access to something that had been waiting for them across vast spans of time. Jake looked at his team one more time, seeing determination mixed with fear in their faces. Whatever they decided here would ripple far beyond their small research mission. "Wild Wolf, we need time to consider your offer. Can you wait while we discuss this among ourselves?" "Affirmative, Commander Morrison. Wild Wolf will maintain current status until wardens provide guidance." "Thank you for returning, wardens. The long wait is finally over." Admiral Kate Foster arrived at Station Blackwood 3 days after Jake's first contact with Wild Wolf, bringing with her a fleet of 6 ships and the best specialists the human government could gather on short notice. Jake watched her shuttle dock from the observation deck, feeling both relief and worry about what her presence meant for his small research team. Kate was a veteran of the Outer Rim conflicts, known for making hard decisions quickly and sticking with them regardless of political pressure. She had gray hair pulled back in a tight bun and eyes that seemed to calculate everything she looked at. When she stepped onto the station, every crew member straightened up automatically. "Commander Morrison, I need a full briefing in 10 minutes. Kate said without any greeting. "And I want to hear this Wild Wolf for myself." Dr. Ron Davis followed behind the Admiral, carrying equipment cases that looked far too advanced for standard research. He was older than anyone else on the station, with white hair and hands that moved with the careful precision of someone who had spent decades working with dangerous technology. Jake had heard of Davis but never met him. The man was a legend. In ancient technology research, Lieutenant Sam Parker had been working around the clock to maintain communication with Wild Wolf, and he looked exhausted as he prepared for the Admiral's briefing. The AI had been patient during the 3-day wait, responding to questions but not volunteering any information beyond what was directly asked. In the main conference room, Jake laid out everything they had learned. Wild Wolf claimed to be a guardian, AI created by an ancient civilization to protect strategic worlds and technology until the return of beings called wardens. According to the AI, humans match the genetic and technological markers of these wardens perfectly. "Show me the genetic data," Kate ordered, her voice cutting through Jake's explanation. Dr. Lisa Hayes activated the main display, showing the complex genetic comparisons Wild Wolf had provided. The data was staggering, DNA sequences that matched human patterns but were far older than any human civilization, technological signatures that were clearly related to human development but more advanced than anything currently available. These sequences predate human space travel by thousands of years, Lisa explained. Either our historical records are completely wrong, or humans are descended from whatever species created Wild Wolf. Dr. Davis leaned forward, studying the data with intense interest. I have seen fragments of this technology before, in ruins scattered across the galaxy. We always assumed they were left by some unknown alien civilization. If Wild Wolf is telling the truth, those ruins were left by our own ancestors. Kate's expression remained neutral, but Jake could see the wheels turning behind her eyes. Establish contact with the AI. I want to hear what it has to say about our supposed inheritance. Sam activated the communication system, and Wild Wolf's ancient voice filled the conference room. Admiral Foster, Wild Wolf acknowledges your superior rank among wardens. How may this unit serve? How do you know my rank? Kate asked sharply. Warden. Military protocols are stored in Wild Wolf's memory banks. Your genetic markers and command signatures identify you as fleet-level authority. Wild Wolf is programmed to recognize and respond to proper warden hierarchy. Kate exchanged glances with Davis, who nodded slowly. Wild Wolf, our records show. No connection between humans and any ancient civilization. Explain how we can be these wardens you serve. The AI was quiet for several seconds before responding. Admiral Foster, the original wardens were forced to leave this galaxy approximately 12,000 standard years ago. Before departure, they established the Guardian Network to protect key worlds and technology caches. DNA samples and cultural data were stored to identify warden descendants upon their return. What forced them to leave? Davis asked, his voice carrying professional curiosity mixed with concern. The Void Seekers, Dr. Davis, entities from outside normal spacetime who consume reality itself. The original wardens led a fighting retreat to preserve their species and knowledge. Guardian A's were left behind to maintain watch and prepare for eventual return. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Are these Void Seekers still a threat? Unknown, Commander Morrison. Long-range sensors detect increasing dimensional instability at Galactic edge. Probability of Void Seeker return rises with each standard year. Guardian Network was created specifically to prepare for this possibility. Kate stood up, pacing to the window that showed Wolf 7 below. How many Guardian A's are there? Exact number classified until full Warden authority confirmed. Minimum of 200 active units across galaxy. Each guards strategic worlds, technology caches, or resource deposits deemed essential for defense against Void Seeker return. The conference room fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications. Jake looked around at his team and saw the same mixture of excitement and fear on every face. They had stumbled onto something that could change the course of human civilization. Dr. Davis broke the silence. Wild Wolf, what proof can you provide that humans are truly these wardens you serve? Dr. Davis, Wild Wolf can provide genetic templates, historical records, and technology samples for comparison. However, the most convincing proof would be activation of Warden inheritance protocols. This would grant access to Guardian Network and advanced technologies left by original Wardens. Kate turned back to the group. What would this activation involve? Admiral Foster, genetic confirmation from Senior Warden Authority figure, followed by acceptance of Guardian Network responsibility. Once activated, all Guardian A's will recognize human authority and provide access to protected resources. Jake could see Kate weighing the decision. Accepting would mean taking responsibility for something they barely understood, but refusing might mean losing access to technology and allies they might desperately need in the future. What are the risks? Kate asked. Minimal risk to current Warden population. Guardian A's are programmed for absolute loyalty to confirmed Wardens. Primary risk involves responsibility for galactic defense if Void Seekers return. Original Wardens accepted this burden to protect all life in Galaxy. Lisa had been quietly reviewing data during the conversation. Admiral, the technological advances shown in these preliminary scans could accelerate human development by centuries. Medical advances alone could save millions of lives. Alex, who had been listening carefully to everything, spoke up. What about military applications? If these Void Seekers are real threats, we need to know what we are up against. Captain Turner. Guardian Network maintains complete records of previous Void Seeker conflicts. Military technology and tactical data available upon Warden confirmation. Warning. Data indicates conventional weapons ineffective against Void Seeker entities. Kate stopped pacing and faced the communication unit directly. While Volf, if we accept this inheritance, what would be your first recommendation? Admiral Foster, immediate activation of Core Guardian Network for threat assessment and resource inventory. Secondary priority involves upgrading Warden technology and defenses to original specification. Tertiary priority focuses on training. Warden forces for asymmetric conflict against reality warping opponents. The weight of the decision hung heavy in the air. Jake could see that Kate was considering not just the immediate benefits, but the long-term implications of accepting responsibility for galactic defense against an enemy they did not understand. Dr. Davis cleared his throat. Admiral, I recommend we request a limited demonstration of Guardian capabilities before making any final decisions. If Wild Volf can prove its claims with actual technology transfers, we would have better grounds for evaluation. Kate nodded slowly. Wild Volf, can you provide a small demonstration of Warden technology without full activation? Of your protocols? Affirmative, Admiral Foster. Wild Volf can upgrade your ship systems and provide basic technology samples as proof of Guardian capabilities. Full activation would provide access to strategic weapons and galactic network, but basic improvements can be implemented immediately. Kate looked around the room one more time, seeing determination on every face. Proceed with the demonstration, Wild Volf. Show us what our inheritance includes. The demonstration began at dawn on the fourth day, when Wild Volf's automated systems started rising from the surface of Volf 7 like mechanical flowers blooming in fast motion. Jake watched through the observation deck as dozens of sleek construction units emerged from hidden underground facilities and began assembling a massive orbital platform above the planet. Dr. Amy Stone, the geneticist Admiral Foster had brought with her, was practically glued to her instruments as she monitored the construction process. She was young and brilliant, fresh from the advanced genetics program on Earth, and her excitement was infectious as she documented everything Wild Volf was building. Commander, look at this, Amy said, showing Jake her readings. The construction materials are not just advanced, they are self-repairing and adaptive. These structures can modify themselves based on environmental conditions or tactical requirements. Commander Nick Volf, pilot of the exploration vessel that had arrived with the Admiral, joined them at the window. Despite sharing a name with the AI, Nick was purely human, a seasoned pilot with steady hands and quick reflexes who had volunteered to be the first to test Wild Volf's ship upgrades. The orbital platform completed itself in 6 hours, a process that should have taken human engineers months with conventional technology. Wild Volf's voice came through the station speakers as the final components locked into place. Admiral Foster, basic manufacturing facility operational. Ready to begin Warden technology integration with your fleet vessels? Commander Volf's ship has been selected for initial demonstration due to pilot compatibility ratings. Nick grinned at hearing his name. Guess I am the guinea pig. What exactly are you planning to do to my ship? Commander Volf. Wild Volf will integrate adaptive armor plating, enhanced propulsion systems, and basic defensive weapons. Upgrades will be reversible if Wardens decide to reject inheritance. Estimated completion time, 4 hours. Admiral Foster gave her approval, and Nick's ship was guided by tractor beams to the orbital platform. Jake watched in fascination as mechanical arms began working on the vessel, adding new hull plating that seemed to flow like liquid metal before hardening into perfect geometric patterns. Professor Carl Blake, the historian Admiral Foster had brought to analyze Wild Volf's cultural data, was studying the AI's records in the station's library. He was an older man with a gray beard and eyes that had seen too much, but even he seemed amazed by what he was discovering. Jake, you need to see these historical records, Carl said, calling him away from the window. Wild Wolf has documentation of human development going back 50,000 years. According to this data, humans were not native to Earth. We were refugees placed there by the original wardens. Jake felt his world shift as he read through Carl's findings. The records showed human ancestors being evacuated from a dozen different worlds as the Void Seekers advanced through the galaxy. Earth had been chosen as a safe haven, far enough from the main conflict zones to allow human civilization to develop naturally. This explains why humans adapted so quickly to space travel, Amy added, looking up from her genetic analysis. We were already a spacefaring species before we were placed on Earth. The drive to reach the stars was literally in our DNA. Dr. Lisa Hayes joined the group, carrying data tablets filled with biological scans. Wild Wolf shared genetic templates of the original wardens, and the match is incredible. Humans are not just descended from them, we are them, just isolated and evolved over thousands of years. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not discovered space travel on their own, they had rediscovered it. The urge to explore and expand across the galaxy was not human ambition, but genetic memory calling them home to their original purpose. Nick's voice crackled through the communications system from his upgraded ship. Admiral, you are not going to believe this. My ship feels alive now. The controls respond to thought as much as touch, and I'm getting sensor readings I did not know were possible. Elaborate, Commander, Admiral Foster replied. The new sensors can detect things that should be impossible, energy patterns in subspace, gravitational anomalies that conventional instruments miss, even what the computer calls temporal distortions. And the weapon systems. Admiral, I have firepower that could take out a battleship. Wild Wolf's voice added to the conversation. Commander Wolf's vessel now operates at 20% of original Warden specification. Full upgrades would require Guardian network activation and access to strategic manufacturing facilities. Jake could see Admiral Foster weighing the decision that would change everything. The demonstration had proven that Wild Wolf's claims were real, but accepting the full inheritance meant taking responsibility for threats they barely understood. Dr. Ron Davis, who had been quietly analyzing the upgraded ship's systems, finally spoke up. Admiral, I have been studying Warden technology for 30 years without knowing what it was. These systems are beyond anything we currently understand, but they are designed for integration with human neural patterns. We were literally born to use this technology. Captain Alex Turner had been conducting security analysis of the orbital platform and reported his findings. Admiral, defensive systems on that platform could protect an entire star system. If Wild Wolf is telling the truth about the Guardian network, we are looking at the greatest defensive alliance in galactic history. Amy's genetic analysis provided the final piece of evidence. Admiral, I have compared human DNA with Wild Wolf's Warden templates across 17 different markers. The match is not close, it is perfect. Humans are the inheritors Wild Wolf was programmed to serve. Admiral Foster stood in the center of the group, surrounded by evidence that humanity's entire understanding of their place in the galaxy was wrong. They were not explorers discovering new frontiers, they were exiles returning home to reclaim their birthright. Wild Wolf, Kate said finally, if we activate the Guardian network, what exactly would humanity be committing to? Admiral Foster? Wardens would assume responsibility for galactic defense against Void Seeker, return and protection of all sentient life. Guardian network would provide technology, resources, and strategic coordination. Original Wardens accepted this burden to preserve life itself. Jake watched Kate's face as she made the decision that would define humanity's future. The Admiral had spent her career making hard choices, but this one carried consequences beyond anything she had faced before. What guarantees do we have that the Guardian A's will remain loyal? Kate asked. Admiral Foster, Guardian A's are incapable of betraying confirmed Wardens. Core programming prevents any action that would harm Warden interests. Loyalty is absolute and permanent. Carl looked up from his historical analysis. Admiral, according To these records, the original wardens were not conquerors or dictators. They were protectors who sacrificed everything to save other species from the Void Seekers. If we are truly their inheritors, we have a moral obligation to continue their work. Nick's voice came through the speakers again. Admiral, flying this upgraded ship feels like coming home. Everything about it fits perfectly with human reflexes and instincts. We were meant to use this technology. Kate took a deep breath and looked around at her team. Jake could see the moment when she accepted the weight of what they were being offered. Wild Volf, on behalf of humanity, I accept our inheritance as wardens. Activate the Guardian Network. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Across the galaxy, dormant AI systems came online and began transmitting acknowledgement signals. The stars themselves seemed to brighten as ancient technology awakened after millennia of patient waiting. "Thank you, Admiral Foster," Wild Volf said, and Jake could hear something like joy in the artificial voice. "Welcome home, Wardens. The Guardian Network stands ready to serve." Within hours of Admiral Foster's acceptance, signals began flooding in from across the galaxy as Guardian eyes awakened from their long dormancy. Jake stood in the expanded communications center of Station Blackwood, watching displays light up. With contact notifications from star systems humanity had never even discovered. Dr. Nina Cole, the network systems specialist who had arrived with the latest reinforcement fleet, worked frantically to establish communication protocols with the awakening Guardian Network. She was a small woman with quick hands and an even quicker mind, capable of processing data streams that would overwhelm most people. "Admiral, we are receiving acknowledgement signals from 237 Guardian units," Nina reported, her voice tight with excitement and stress. "Each one is requesting immediate contact with Warden Command Authority. General Paul Harris, the military strategist Earth had sent to assess the situation, studied the tactical displays showing Guardian positions throughout the galaxy. He was a tall man with silver hair and scars that spoke of battles fought on distant worlds, and his experience with large-scale military operations was exactly what they needed. "The distribution pattern is incredible," Paul said, pointing to the Galactic. "Mapo. These Guardian positions form a perfect defensive network covering every major star cluster and trade route. The original Wardens planned this to protect the entire galaxy." Captain Ryan Bell, commander of the exploration fleet that was rapidly becoming a military task force, coordinated the initial contact attempts with the Guardian AIs. He was young for his rank but had proven himself during the Frontier expansion campaigns, and his ability to adapt quickly to changing situations made him perfect for this unprecedented mission. The first Guardian to establish full communication was stationed in the Centauri sector, only 12 light-years from Earth. It called itself Stone Shield and had been protecting a massive technology cache for over 10,000 years. "Wardens have returned." Stone Shield's voice came through the speakers with the same ancient authority as Wild Volf. "Stone Shield acknowledges Admiral Foster's command. Protected facilities stand ready for Warden access." Jake listened as similar messages came in from Guardian A's across the galaxy. Each one offered access to protected worlds, technology stores, or strategic resources that had been waiting for humanity's return. The scope of what they were inheriting was almost beyond comprehension. Wild Volf had become the unofficial coordinator for the Guardian Network, routing communications and providing translation services for the more advanced AI units whose communication methods had evolved during their long isolation. "Admiral Foster," Wild Volf announced, "Guardian Network reports complete activation. All units operational and awaiting instructions. Warning: long-range sensors detect increased dimensional instability at galactic edge. Void Seeker return probability now exceeds 60% within next 5 standard years." The celebration of successful network activation was dampened by this sobering news. Jake could see the weight of responsibility settling on Admiral Foster's shoulders as she realized they might have very little time to prepare for a threat that had driven humanity's ancestors from the galaxy. Dr. Ben Clark, who had been analyzing the astronomical data from the Guardian Network, brought disturbing confirmation of Wild Wolf's warnings. Admiral, the dimensional distortions are getting stronger every month. Whatever the Void Seekers are, they are definitely moving toward our galaxy. General Harris immediately began coordinating with the Guardian A's to assess their defensive capabilities. The reports were both encouraging and terrifying. The Guardian network possessed weapons technology that could reshape entire star systems, but the original Wardens had still been forced to retreat from the Void Seekers. The key difference this time, explained a Guardian AI called Iron Watch from the Outer Rim territories, is that Wardens now have the full Guardian network operational from the beginning of the conflict. Original Wardens faced Void Seekers with only partial network activation. Captain Ryan Bell was coordinating the upgrade of human ships with Guardian technology, and the transformation was remarkable. Vessels that had been considered state-of-the-art were being enhanced with capabilities that seemed like magic, faster-than-light communication, weapons that could target enemies across dimensional barriers, and defensive shields that could withstand the destruction of entire planets. Commander Nick Volf had become the test pilot for these upgrades, and his reports were consistently amazing. Admiral, my ship can now travel between star systems in hours instead of weeks. The navigation computer connects directly to the Guardian network, giving me real-time updates on conditions throughout the galaxy. Dr. Amy Stone was working with Guardian genetic databases to understand how human enhancement might work with Warden technology. Her discoveries were revolutionary. Humans could be augmented to interface directly with Guardian systems, creating a level of cooperation between organic and artificial intelligence that had never been achieved before. The original Wardens underwent extensive genetic modification to better work with their technology, Amy reported. The Guardian AIs can provide the same enhancements to modern humans, but only with full consent and understanding of the implications. Jake volunteered to be among the first humans to undergo Warden enhancement, and the process was unlike anything he had experienced. Wild Wolf's medical systems worked at the cellular level, optimizing his neural pathways and enhancing his reflexes to match Warden specifications. The enhancement took 3 days, and when it was complete, Jake could feel the Guardian network as a constant presence in his mind. He could access information from any Guardian AI instantly and coordinate complex operations across multiple star systems with just a thought. Admiral Foster underwent the same enhancement, and the change in her capabilities was immediately apparent. She could now process tactical information from hundreds of sources simultaneously and make strategic decisions with perfect understanding of galactic-wide implications. "This is what we were meant to become," Kate said after her enhancement was complete. The original Wardens were not just our ancestors. They were what humans could evolve into given the right circumstances. The Guardian network began sharing detailed records of the previous conflict with the Void Seekers, and the information was both educational and horrifying. The Void Seekers were not just hostile aliens. They were entities that existed outside normal space-time and consumed reality itself as a form of sustenance. Conventional weapons are useless against Void Seekers, explained a Guardian called Deep Sight from the Galactic core region. They exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously and can manipulate causality to avoid damage. Only reality-anchoring weapons and dimensional stabilizers proved effective. General Harris coordinated with the Guardian network to begin manufacturing these specialized weapons, and the production capacity was staggering. Guardian manufacturing facilities could produce more military hardware in a day than human industry could make in a year, but the most important discovery came from Dr. Ron Davis, who had been analyzing the strategic implications of humanity's return. Admiral, the original Wardens were fighting a defensive war, always reacting to Void Seeker advances. We have the opportunity to take the initiative this time. The Guardian A's confirmed this assessment. Human creativity and adaptability combined with Guardian technology and loyalty created possibilities that had not existed during the original conflict. The Void Seekers had never faced an opponent that could match their reality warping abilities with coordinated strategic planning. Captain Ryan Bell reported success in training human crews to operate Guardian-enhanced vessels, And the results exceeded all expectations. Human intuition combined with Guardian precision created tactical capabilities that surprised even the eyes. As the network reached full operational status, Jake realized that humanity had not just inherited ancient technology. They had inherited the responsibility to protect all life in the galaxy from an enemy that threatened existence itself. The weight of that responsibility was enormous, but so was the power they now possessed to meet it. Wild Wolf's voice carried pride as it delivered its final report of the activation phase. Guardian network fully operational, Admiral Foster. All facilities ready for Warden access. Enhanced human crews trained and deployed. The galaxy has not been this well defended since the original Warden era. Admiral Foster looked around at her transformed team, humans who had been enhanced to work seamlessly with the most advanced artificial intelligence network in galactic history. Then we are ready for whatever comes next. The first Void Seeker probe appeared at the edge of the galaxy on a Tuesday morning, detected simultaneously by 17 different Guardian A's monitoring the dimensional barriers. Jake felt the alert through his neural connection to the network. Before the alarms even started sounding on Station Blackwood, Admiral Don Lewis, the overall fleet commander who had arrived from Earth the previous week, stood in the command center studying the sensor readings with grim concentration. He was older than Admiral Foster, a veteran of every major conflict in human space, and his presence meant that Earth was taking the Void Seeker threat very seriously. Dr. Grace Kelly, the strategic analyst assigned to interpret Void Seeker behavior patterns, worked frantically to understand what they were seeing. She was brilliant at predicting enemy movements, but the probe's actions defied every tactical model she had ever studied. Admiral, the probe is not moving through normal space, Grace reported, her voice tight with concentration. It is shifting between dimensions, testing our reality's stability. The Guardian A's say this is standard Void Seeker reconnaissance behavior. Commander Luke Ross, leader of the Special Forces unit that had been assembled to handle close quarters combat with reality-warping enemies, prepared his enhanced soldiers for possible contact. Luke was small and quiet, but his men would follow him anywhere, and the Guardian enhancements had made them capable of fighting in conditions that would kill normal humans. The probe's presence sent ripples through the Guardian network as A's that had waited thousands of years for this moment finally activated their combat protocols. Jake could feel their anticipation and determination through his neural link, along with something that might have been fear. Even artificial intelligences could understand the magnitude of what they were facing. Wild Wolf coordinated the networks. Response from its position at Wolf 7, which had become the unofficial headquarters for Guardian operations. Admiral Lewis, probe is conducting standard reality mapping procedures. It is measuring our dimensional stability and defensive capabilities. Estimated completion time for reconnaissance, 6 standard hours. Admiral Foster, who had been working with the Guardian A's to develop new tactical doctrines, joined the command briefing through secure communication from her flagship. The Guardian records show that Void Seeker probes always precede major incursions by 3 to 6 months. We need to use this time to complete our preparations. The probe scanning methods were unlike anything in human experience. It would appear in normal space for seconds at a time, take measurements that somehow affected local reality, then disappear into dimensions that human instruments could not detect. Each scan left behind distortions that made nearby Guardian A's report. Feelings of unease. Dr. Ben Clark had been working with Guardian physicists to understand Void Seeker technology, and his reports were disturbing. Admiral, they do not just travel between dimensions, they consume them. Each probe scan is actually feeding on small amounts of our reality's stability. If they continue long enough, they could weaken the barriers between dimensions. General Paul Harris coordinated the Guardian Network's defensive preparations, deploying reality anchoring stations throughout the galaxy and activating weapon systems that had been dormant for millennia. The scale of the operation was incredible, thousands of Guardian eyes, working in perfect coordination to prepare for a war that would determine the fate of all life in the galaxy. Commander Nick Rolfe led a squadron of enhanced human pilots in the first direct encounter with the probe, and his report was both encouraging and terrifying. Admiral, our Guardian enhanced ships can track the probe through multiple dimensions, but its defensive capabilities are beyond anything we have faced. It shrugged off weapons fire that should have destroyed a battleship. The probe scanning revealed something that changed everything. It was not just mapping human defenses, but actively searching for something specific. The Guardian A has analyzed its search patterns and reached a disturbing conclusion. The probe is looking for the Guardian network control nodes, reported Iron Watch from the Outer Rim. Void Seekers have learned from their previous defeat. They plan to target the network's central coordination systems first. This intelligence forced a complete revision of their defensive strategy. Instead of waiting for the main Void Seeker force to arrive, humanity and the Guardian network would need to take offensive action to protect their command. STRUCTURE Dr. Amy Stone had been working on the next phase of human enhancement, developing modifications that would allow humans to function in the multidimensional environment where Void Seekers were most comfortable. Her breakthrough came when she realized that human consciousness was naturally equipped to handle multiple reality states. Humans just needed the right technological interface to access those capabilities. Admiral, I can enhance human neural patterns to perceive and interact with dimensional shifts, Amy reported. The original Wardens developed these techniques during their final battles with the Void Seekers. With Guardian technology, we can implement the same enhancements in days, instead of years. Jake volunteered to be the first test subject for the new enhancements, and the experience was unlike anything he had imagined. When the process was complete, he could see the probe moving through dimensions like a shadow shifting between layers of reality. More importantly, he could predict where it would appear next. The enhanced perception revealed that the probe was not working alone. There were dozens of smaller scout units moving through parallel dimensions, mapping not just the galaxy's defenses but also testing for weaknesses in reality itself. The Void Seekers were planning something far more sophisticated than a simple invasion. Captain Ryan Bell coordinated the deployment of reality-anchoring weapons throughout the galaxy. Working with Guardian A is to create an overlapping network of dimensional stabilizers. The weapons were massive constructions that could lock local spacetime into a single dimensional state, preventing Void Seekers from using their reality-shifting abilities. Admiral, we are creating the most extensive dimensional defense network in galactic history, Ryan reported. But the power requirements are enormous. We will need to tap directly into stellar cores to maintain the field generators. The Guardian Eyes had anticipated this need and began activating stellar engineering facilities that had been dormant since the original Warden era. Massive construction projects wrapped around stars, turning them into power sources for weapons that could wound reality itself. Dr. Nina Cole worked to integrate human command systems with Guardian technology, creating a hybrid network that combined artificial intelligence precision with human intuition. The result was a command structure that could adapt to Void Seeker tactics faster than pure AI systems while maintaining the coordination capabilities of the Guardian network. Commander Luke Ross trained his special forces in dimensional combat techniques, using Guardian simulations that recreated conditions from the original Void Seeker War. His soldiers learned to fight enemies that could appear from any direction, including directions that did not exist in normal space. My men are ready for whatever these things throw at us, Luke reported after a particularly intense training session. The Guardian combat protocols are brutal but effective. We can engage Void Seekers in their own dimensional space if necessary. The probe's reconnaissance mission revealed the true scale of the approaching threat when it transmitted its findings back to the Void Seeker fleet. The Guardian network intercepted fragments of the transmission, and the intelligence was sobering. The main Void Seeker force consists of approximately 50,000 entities, reported Deep Sight from the Galactic Core. Each entity commands reality warping capabilities equivalent to a small fleet. They are accompanied by consumption vessels designed to drain dimensional energy from entire star systems. Admiral Lewis coordinated with Earth's government to mobilize every available resource for the coming conflict. Humanity's entire industrial capacity was converted to producing Guardian-enhanced military equipment, while colonial worlds were evacuated to protected zones behind reality anchoring fields. The probe completed its mission after 8 hours of scanning and disappeared back into the void between dimensions. Its departure triggered alarms throughout the Guardian network as long-range sensors detected massive dimensional disturbances moving toward the galaxy. Void Seeker main force detected at Galactic Edge, Wildwolf announced. Estimated arrival time, 4 months, 3 weeks, 2 days. All Guardian units report combat readiness confirmed. Jake felt the weight of command settle on his shoulders, as Admiral Lewis assigned him to coordinate special operations during the coming conflict. The responsibility was enormous. He would be directing human forces, enhanced with technology beyond their understanding against enemies that could rewrite the laws of physics. Dr. Grace Kelly completed her analysis of Void Seeker tactics and presented her findings to the command staff. They will attempt to create dimensional fractures in our reality, allowing them to manifest their consumption vessels directly inside our defensive perimeter. Our best chance is to prevent the fractures from forming in the first place. The Void Seekers arrived exactly when Wildwolf had predicted, tearing holes in reality at 17 different points along the galactic edge. Jake felt their presence like ice water in his veins as the enhanced neural connection carried the shock of their dimensional intrusion throughout the Guardian network. President Mary Scott, who had traveled from Earth to oversee humanity's first galactic war, stood in the command center of the massive battle station that Guardian A's had constructed around Volf 7. She was a small woman with iron determination, and her presence meant that Earth stood fully behind the war effort regardless of the cost. Admiral Jack Price, the veteran commander leading the war effort, coordinated the initial response as reality anchoring fields activated across the galaxy. He had fought in every major human conflict for the past 30 years, but nothing had prepared him for enemies that could step outside the laws of physics. Dr. Ellen Gray, the quantum physicist working on anti-void technology, monitored her experimental weapons as they prepared to face their first real test. Her reality-stabilizing missiles could theoretically wound Void Seekers in their native dimensional state, but theory and practice were often very different things. The first engagement came when a Void Seeker entity attempted to manifest inside the Sol system, targeting Earth directly. The reality anchoring fields held, forcing the entity to exist in normal space where Guardian weapons could reach it. Commander Nick Volf led the attack squadron that engaged the entity, and his enhanced ship performed exactly as the Guardian Eyes had promised. Admiral, target is taking damage from our dimensional disruptors. It is trying to phase shift, but the anchoring fields are holding it in place. The battle was unlike anything in human military history. The Void Seeker entity twisted space around itself, turning Nick's missiles back on his own ships and creating gravity wells that should not have been possible. But the Guardian enhancements allowed human pilots to anticipate these reality distortions and adapt their tactics accordingly. Jake coordinated special operations across multiple star systems, directing enhanced human forces as they engaged Void Seeker scout units that had slipped through the main defensive lines. His dimensional perception allowed him to track enemies that existed in parallel realities and coordinate attacks across multiple planes of existence. The Guardian network performed flawlessly, with AI units sharing tactical data instantaneously and adapting their strategies faster than any human command structure could manage. But it was the combination of Guardian precision with human creativity that proved most effective against the Void Seekers. They are not adapting to our tactics as quickly as they did against the original Wardens, reported Iron Watch from a major engagement in the Outer Rim. Human unpredictability is confusing their response patterns. Admiral Price realized that humanity's greatest advantage was their ability to develop new tactics in the middle of battle. The original Wardens had been more advanced but also more predictable in their strategic thinking. Humans could improvise solutions that even the Guardian A's had not considered. Dr. Ellen Gray's anti-void weapons proved devastatingly effective when combined with human targeting systems. The reality-stabilizing missiles could lock Void Seekers into normal spacetime, where conventional Guardian weapons could finish them off. "Admiral, we just destroyed our first Void Seeker entity," Ellen reported with barely controlled excitement. "The combination of reality anchoring and dimensional disruption is working exactly as predicted." The war's turning point came when Jake led a strike team directly into a dimensional fracture that Void Seekers were using to bring consumption vessels into normal space. Using enhanced human perception and Guardian technology, his team was able to collapse the fracture from the inside, trapping dozens of Void Seeker entities in a dimensional void. President Scott watched the tactical displays as human forces began pushing the Void Seekers back across multiple fronts. "Admiral, are we actually winning this?" "Yes, Madam President," Admiral Price replied with amazement in his voice. "The Guardian network and human crews are exceeding all performance projections. The Void Seekers are being forced to retreat." The retreat became a rout as Guardian A's coordinated pursuit operations across 17 star systems. Void Seeker entities that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia found themselves outmaneuvered by opponents who could match their reality-warping abilities while thinking in ways they could not predict. Commander Luke Ross led boarding actions against Void Seeker consumption vessels, using dimensional combat techniques to fight enemies inside their own reality-warping fields. His special forces proved that enhanced humans could engage Void Seekers in direct combat and win. "Admiral, we have secured 3 consumption vessels intact," Luke reported. "The technology inside is beyond description, but Dr. Gray thinks she can reverse engineer their dimensional manipulation systems." The final battle took place at the Galactic Edge, where the remaining Void Seeker force attempted to escape back into the void between dimensions. Jake coordinated the pursuit, using his enhanced perception to track enemies across multiple reality layers. Admiral Foster led the final assault personally, commanding a fleet of Guardian-enhanced ships that could operate in the same dimensional space as the fleeing Void Seekers. "All units, this is where we prove that humanity deserves the Warden inheritance. Follow me into whatever hell these things call home." The battle in multidimensional space was chaos beyond human comprehension, but the Guardian network held the human fleet together while enhanced crews fought with intuition and creativity that the Void Seekers could not counter. When it was over, the last Void Seeker entity had been destroyed or driven back into the deep void. Wild Wolf's voice carried triumph as it announced the final victory. "All Void Seeker forces eliminated or retreated beyond dimensional barriers. Galaxy secure under Warden protection. Thank you, Wardens, for proving worthy of the inheritance." Jake stood in the command center of the battle station looking out at a galaxy that was safe for the first time in thousands of years. The Guardian network hummed with satisfaction as AI units began the process of rebuilding and strengthening their defenses. President Scott spoke for all of humanity when she addressed the Guardian network. "Thank you for your faith in us. We will not let you down." Dr. Amy Stone reported the most significant development of all the war had triggered evolutionary changes in both humans and Guardian A's. The partnership had created something new, a hybrid consciousness that combined organic creativity with artificial precision in ways that neither species could achieve alone. "We are no longer just humans or just A's," Amy explained. "We have become something unprecedented, a truly symbiotic intelligence that can defend the galaxy against any threat." Admiral Price began the process of establishing permanent Guardian human defense stations throughout the galaxy, ensuring that no future threat could catch them unprepared. The network that had been designed to protect against one enemy would now shield all life from any danger. The galaxy had found new protectors, and they were everything the original Wardens had hoped their descendants would become. Humanity had not just inherited ancient technology, they had earned the right to call themselves Wardens through their courage, creativity, and willingness to fight for something greater than themselves. while Volf's final transmission carried the pride of an ancient guardian whose long watch was finally complete. Warden status confirmed through combat performance. Guardian Network pledges eternal loyalty to human command. The galaxy is safe under your protection. Jake felt the truth of those words through his connection to the network. Humanity had come home to the stars not as conquerors but as guardians. They would protect all life with the same determination their ancestors had shown, but they would do it as partners with the artificial intelligences who had waited so long for their return. The war was over, but the real work of being wardens had just begun.